Hello! And if you're just tuning in now, welcome to the SDG Action Zone. I'm Nadira Hira, your MC for this collaborative space during the UN General Assembly. We have had an incredible morning, but don't worry if you missed any of it. It's all being made available in the on-demand library. A lot of fantastic conversations have been happening on social media, so join those using hashtag SDG Action Zone, and feel free to tag us at SDG Action. We thought it might be nice to give you a flavor of what you may have missed and may want to go back and watch. So let's recap. We kicked off the day with a very special welcome address from the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Amina J. Mohammed, who reminded us that even in the bleakest of moments, which this pandemic has certainly been for most of us, there's hope and there's opportunity. But we have to use the recovery as a springboard to create a more prosperous, equitable, and sustainable world. We're at an inflection point for people and for planet, which makes this the moment when leaders and citizens need to act on the global scale that the Sustainable Development Goals demand. We watched the trailer for Nations United, a global broadcast directed by filmmaker Richard Curtis that made the urgency of now crystal clear. It's the 5-year anniversary of the launch of the global goals, and in this decade of action, our mission could not be more straightforward. To quote the Deputy Secretary General, "We know the facts and we know the solutions, so let us act." Be sure to check out the entire Nations United broadcast on YouTube. I promise you'll be glad you did. Issa and Major uplifted us with a special performance of their song, "Let Me Be the One," and we explored what the effect of unequal access to adequate housing and opportunities feels like through immersive experiences. We then each had the tough decision to pick a stage as we went into breakout sessions. We explored protection of society, the protection of jobs, and the protection of children's futures, with a very special guest appearance from Sesame Street's Grover. On inequalities and poverty, the message was clear. Going back to pre-pandemic policies won't solve today's crises or achieve the goals. If we're going to supercharge any of the SDGs, Oxfam CEO Danny Srikandaraja told us, we need to make sure that the economic structure at the heart of the economic order is one that drives towards fairness, rather than prevents that from happening. And he called us to share resources fairly, to recalibrate values so that the people being rewarded are the ones providing essential services in our societies. We explored decent work and the just transition strategies that are fundamental to enabling millions more people to overcome poverty and improve livelihoods. LEGO Foundation, Sesame Workshop, and partners reminded us how important learning through play is and how much we need to redefine what refugee children and children in crisis everywhere deserve and get access to. To quote Sherry Weston, president of Global Impact and Philanthropy at the Sesame Workshop, and someone I just plain adore, when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, sadly, this is the first time in years that we are actually going down, that we are not seeing the same progress because of this pandemic. And it's also important to note that early childhood development helps to affect every single one of those goals. If we are investing in reaching children in their early years, we can show progress in each and every one of them. Then we were joined by UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, and world-renowned footballer Mohamed Salah, who conversed with Lualbai, Pacific, Salam, and Fatna, students in 4 refugee camps, and called for bold action to tackle the devastating gap exacerbated by COVID-19 in access to quality education. We heard an inspiring lightning talk from UNICEF and Microsoft on how they've collaborated to address the COVID-19 education crisis through a global learning platform called the Learning Passport. And Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy, joined us to reimagine the future of education and spilled the beans to me about some breaking news. Missed any of that? View it all on demand in the virtual library. We've zoomed in today on diverse regional realities relating to progress made against the 3 prisms of poverty and inequality, climate action, and gender equality with the regional economic commissions. We passed through a gateway into the UN for some important insights from UNAIDS and the UN Department for Economic and Social Affairs, or UNDESA, as part of our 7-minute UN Digest series, to help us all understand what's at stake, why you should care, and how everyone, everywhere can take action. We were reminded that in crisis after crisis, the same groups, people of color, disabled people, indigenous peoples, feel the strongest effects. SDG advocates Hindu Ibrahim and Eddie Ndopu kicked off the much-needed conversation about inclusion. We heard from community activists on the front lines, the ones who are withstanding violence, who are displaced by climate change, and bearing the brunt of gender equality. Executive Director of Femnet, Memory Kachambwa, reminded us, quote, "There's the whole mantra of building back better. We should be really talking about building back differently and addressing some of the structural inequalities." And when looking to bridge the digital divide that holds 50% of the world's population back from opportunity, founder of Alibaba Global Initiatives, Brian Wong, put it so well. Successful entrepreneurs collaborate and empower. They leverage technology to help others and empower users of their platforms. We were joined by Cecilia Suarez, Amanda DuPont, and Louis Cole, alongside other creative legends, to discuss violence online and how to tackle it. We celebrated a new cohort of Goalkeepers awardees pushing this agenda forward. We explored the pursuit of impact through the HALT Prize. We got personal with actress and UN Development Program Goodwill Ambassador Connie Britton on the impact of the current pandemic on women. And we re-examined inclusion with cultural architect Katelakai Kolangne Kisupile. And while all of this has been happening at the SDG Action Zone, guess what? People around the world have been taking their own actions and mobilizing to demand leaders turn it around for people and for planet during this year's Global Week to Act for the SDGs. Let's take a look.
We are at an unprecedented turning point.
It is trying to press the reset button to realize a more inclusive future.
We need to and we can do better.
We each have a role to play to turn it around for people and for planet.
2030 is now.
Add your voice, do your part, because the world needs you.
Stats are coming in fast and furious, and so far, over 35 million people have taken action in 100 countries and counting. You can still join in. Explore different sets of actions to take at actforsdgs.org and join the mobilization using hashtag #TurnItAround. Wow, we've covered so much ground already, and we're just getting started because there's more in store for this afternoon. We'll be joined by the principals of UNDP, UN Women, and the UN Environment Program as they dive deeper into what's at stake and what it will take to achieve healthy societies, gender parity, and the end of inequality and extreme poverty in this current climate. We'll imagine a future that puts intersectionality into practice in the business world, and we'll be joined by some of the most inspiring women leaders to uncover what happens when women lead. There's so much more to come. Just join and see for yourself. Finally, a little reminder on housekeeping. For an overview of the entire program or to curate your SDG Action Zone experience, go to sdgactionzone.org. Inside this virtual SDG Action Zone, we actually have 3 stages, so you may have to make some tough decisions about which stages to join and when. But don't worry, every piece will be available on demand. Keep an eye on that space so you don't miss a beat. What's more, while our speakers are reimagining our world together, you can join the ongoing conversation on all your social media platforms using hashtag SDG Action Zone. And if you let us know which stage you're watching, your questions and ideas may feature on that stage's live Twitter wall. Just make sure to use hashtag stage 1, hashtag stage 2, or hashtag stage 3, and we'll find you. And post everywhere you can, tell everyone you know, to join in this awesome virtual community at sdgactionzone.org. Let's make some noise, and together make sure these breakthrough ideas and solutions reach and inspire everyone in our communities and beyond. Totally awesome, right? Let's get back to it.